So, like you said, government's pulling this information and things like that. Please explain to me what the U.S. federal government is going to do by knowing that you love to watch Friends regularly in your living room.
You're right. The average person who watches Friends on their Netflix account, it's one of those questions where they say, well, you're not doing anything wrong. What's the problem with somebody else knowing? The issue is the privacy that you have in your own home is being violated by the government. In the Constitution, Article 9, the Bill of Rights, it speaks to the fact that United States citizens are entitled to what is not expressly taken away from them from the Constitution. And currently, if there's an expansion of surveillance, they will be taking advantage of that, and they will be taking away from the privacy of an individual, not because they have something to hide, but because it's the right thing to do. It's the wrong thing to take those rights away from them.
And you keep bringing up this stuff from the Constitution, but all of these things in the Constitution were written far before the internet was even around and things like that, before computers and phones and things like that are happening. And you did make a good comparison between, quartering a troop and having the NSA in your house, but they're not necessarily the same thing. You're not losing food, you're not losing space. You just have someone watching your back without losing apps. You're not losing anything, So how can we really compare the two if there's not even a soul in the house other than you?
If one was to read the Constitution, there would be an overarching theme that the government is a limited aspect of our life. And today that may have changed in some ways, but it hasn't in others. The American ideal is that the government is not to be intrusive in all of our lives. While they may be that right now, there definitely should be an expansion of that in this way.
All right, what's next? Me for 4? All right.
Is that a rebuttal?
Yeah.
Me? Okay.
I got a rebuttal for 4, then you for 3, then me for 2.
Okay.
So, as a negative to talk about, the whole personal privacy thing. So if you think about it, you've got the government collecting your information on social media. You've got the government, surveying this Netflix account, this Amazon account, all of this different stuff. Well, everyone knows that whenever you're downloading these apps and you're deciding to use and sign up for these services, there's these super long terms and agreements, policies that everybody, clicks on and says, yes, you can do whatever's in here. 9 times out of 10, nobody's even going to read that. So these long terms and policies actually allow for the company that you're using, these social media platforms and stuff, to collect data on you already. So really this surveillance that the government's doing is just partnering with these businesses to look through and say, hey, is there any bad stuff on here? Do we need to be watching for something? Do we need to be trying to protect someone for some reason? So if you're worried about your civil liberties, being taken and blown out of proportions and that kind of stuff, you're already being monitored and watched and consistently data kept on you by the companies, and you agree to it already. Why not have, if they're going to be doing it already, why not have the government try and protect you? Netflix isn't there to protect you. Netflix is there solely to make money. They are for profit. Whereas the government, they are here trying to set a basis for, what their surveillance can catch. And then, once they figure out what that is, they want to move forward and try and prevent these things from happening. And you can't, you talk about the bombing, the Boston, marathon bombing. If the government jumped every single time that they heard, oh, watch out, something bad's going to happen, this, that, I'm going to go do something crazy, then, they would constantly be looking at people, trying to keep people in lockdown and stuff like that. This surveillance, you've got to start somewhere and move forward, just like the internet did. The internet is rapidly expanding. So is social media. There's new platforms every single year, multiple year. So, you've got to allow them to come in and create this baseline that they can work forward from and be able to weed things out and find what they're looking for and, heck, even determine what it is they're really looking for. So, in 2013, 2 students from Texas A&M did 2018. 2 students from Texas A&M, they did a report over, Twitter, and 23,000 accounts were owned by members of ISIS. Of that, they were able to put out 17.5 million tweets. That doesn't include the 10 million retweets and the 20 million mentions that they had across the platform. So, this is dangerous stuff that needs to be monitored. Twitter's out there trying to make money, whereas the government's out there trying to protect the people that live in this country. So, you're already being monitored. Why not be protected while you're doing it?
And 3 minutes?
3,
5 minutes? Okay. All right, those were good points brought up by the affirmative here. I do have some key issues I'm going to disagree with them on. I would say when you accept the terms and conditions of Netflix's app to use their service, you are in fact signing a contract. By law, that is what you're doing. You're agreeing to terms. And you agree to those terms. So you have to click agree. You scroll all the way down, hit the click, and make sure you scroll all the way down because they think you're reading it. We don't. And you're agreeing to that. Where exactly did you sign terms and conditions to be an American citizen? Under my personal experience, I never have. I was born in America. I'm a citizen. I never agreed to use the United States land. This is just where I am. I did agree, in fact, to use Facebook, where I clicked the terms and conditions, and I agreed to what they had on there, and I had the ability to read through them if I wanted to, if I was very concerned about security, and I could also decline those terms and conditions, and then I would file an appeal to Facebook, and they would come back to me, and they would see what they could do to get me on the platform. There's no way to do that with the United States government. There's no, let me call somebody and see if they can stop looking at my internet history. They're going to do that, and I don't think they need to expand. And on that aspect, the expansion, right now the issue isn't that they don't know where terrorists are. We already talked about this with the 9/11, with the Boston bombers. They knew exactly where those people were. They were being surveilled. The issue was there was so many people that they were watching that they weren't able to really lock down the ones that meant things. Who's to tell the difference? I today looked up NSA's policies, things like that. I'm probably got put on my watch list today because I looked up what exactly they're looking on. And instead of them going after a terrorist, part of them are looking after me who's doing a school project right now. I would say if there was an expansion of this policy of surveillance, what would happen was there'd be an even broader sense. There'd be more things out there they'd have to comb through. What really needs to happen is they need to stay where they're at. They need to focus in on what is happening with those actions. Let's see. Dr. Reinhard Cressy, he is a author who's written several books on the NSA, and he says that there are a number of criticisms that have been brought forth with law enforcement strategy based on increasing mass surveillance, including the private sphere, and all of citizens and collecting data from all different sources. There's many criticisms that could be fought against them. One of them being the fact that that them surveilling you, watching Netflix, which you brought forth earlier, really shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't matter that what you're watching on Netflix. They shouldn't be looking at that. They should be looking at terrorists. So in that sense, we do agree, but it's that I should think they should not be surveilling them, and they should definitely not be expanding the aspects of surveillance. Now, you also brought forth in your argument, once again, this private sphere aspect. I agree with you that having information out there is dangerous. I think that was a point kind of pointing towards my end. And you just think that the government would do a better job of it. But once again, I'm going to point out that what is having more people know your information a better thing? Why is having the government know what you're having when they have leaks all the time as well? Like Snowden, WikiLeaks, all these things happen under the government's watch. The government's not perfect, far from it. Ultimately, I would say it's impossible to know just how successful a sweeping surveillance could be over all Americans. But what has been disclosed, I would say that it is not a positive thing. I don't think that there would be, all of a sudden, there are no terrorist attacks. All of a sudden, they're stopping people left and right. I think more than likely it would be a lot more people, they'd know exactly what they're watching on Netflix and what more they were doing on Amazon Prime. And they'd be on a lot more watch list for things such as I'm doing right now, looking up what the NSA surveillance policies are currently. And more so, I would just say that once again, the ideal in the American value is that the government does not have to come into your life and be there, that you don't have to be quartering a soldier inside your phone, inside your pocket. Imagine if the founding fathers thought forward to that, thought that could happen, not only being in your home, how intimate that is for somebody to be in your home, but now they're in your pocket and they're watching your every move. And I think it's pretty important that we stick the government where they're at right now and don't let them expand even more so on those aspects of surveillance.
2 minutes? 3 minutes? This is the last one? Okay. So, you've got some good points and everything, but the thing about it is the government's not going anywhere, and the government's supposed to be here for the people, elected by the people, and it's all for the people that live here in this country. So these companies that are rising, popping up, every single day, there's new companies out there that are wanting to build and be for profit and do all this stuff and make money. They've got money on their mind, and you're already allowing them to connect, collect all this information and catch trends and put up advertisements and things like that for you, make suggestions for you. The government doesn't even want to be that much in your life. They don't want to make suggestions for you. They don't want to help you make your next purchase or anything like that. They don't really care. That's not what they're looking for. That's why they have the whole filtration process. The good can come in, but it's not what they're looking for. It just keeps on going. They're just solely trying to focus on the bad stuff and trying to make sure that everybody gets to keep moving on the next day and do what it is that they want to do. So, the collection of information is going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to grow, just like the internet is. And, as long as the internet is growing and becoming just this endless land of, whatever we want it to be, there's got to be some sort of protection there, some sort of fence. And the laws that are in place right now, they're lacking. They don't have the ability to catch the laws up every time something happens. So there have been, laws have grown and changed a little bit here and there as the internet has expanded, but it's not at the rate, laws aren't growing at the rate that the internet is. So, if you can't make the laws reach that point, having a safety net, having a safeguard around you, around, what's happening in your country, in your state, in your pocket, it's just to give you that safe state of mind to, help you feel better about some of the decisions you're making, give you one less thing to worry about. If every single day was spent just worrying about what's going on, if everything was going to be stolen, no one would be using these. We wouldn't continuously have these innovations and pushing, to the new, brighter future, that kind of thing. So, greed is one thing that will forever be around. So, at least let someone that I put my vote in, that I signed my name on a piece of paper, put my vote down and said that I want them to represent me across this whole state, this whole country. Let that person say, hey, this is what's going to keep these people safe. You may not have signed a contract up front, click the I agree terms, but you decided, you made the personal decision to live in this country, and you cast the vote for the person who's going to represent you the best in your opinion. And that's the American way. So as the internet and the rest of the country moves up on this upward trajectory, why don't we let the government just keep us safe? Why not? That's their job. Let's let them do it. Oh, good job, dude. Professional.